From the desert sands of Namibia to the canyon roads of Los Angeles, and everywhere in between, we trust Rockform to keep our phones safe and accessible on two wheels or beyond. Rockform's twist lock system and powerful magnets are designed for real-world motorcycle riding. No rattles, no worries. Whether you're hammering the trails or hammering out a daily commute, Rockform's mil-spec construction provides peace of mind in any situation. Get 25% off Rockform rugged cases and motorcycle mounts with promo code MOTO25. Gear up and save today.
Hey, what's up? This is Nick with Motorcycle.com, and today we just got done riding something pretty cool, something that we usually don't get to ride too often. As you guys see before me, this is a true blue, ready-to-race factory Supermoto. Here's the thing, KTM does live by the ready-to-race slogan, and on the off-road side, that's pretty true. A lot of their products are straight up ready to race. Buy them from the dealership floor and go and race it. Now, for the road racing side, and I think of a lot of our audience, that watches MotoGP, World Superbike, Moto America, they'll recognize Supermotos from what a lot of our favorite riders train on. Because, well, you can do a lot with them. You can hit a road race kart circuit like this, and then also go and rip some dirt. Not saying that I can, but you can. Now, what I got before me is, of course, the 2025 KTM 450 SMR. There's a lot of changes this year. Most of them pertain to the chassis specifically, but they've done a huge amount of updates from the last time we saw this bike get updated. The Supermoto, in a nutshell, is you take a full-blown rowdy motocrosser and then you slap on some road race wheels on it. In this case, we have Metzeler Supermoto tires, slicks. But the main changes here are gonna be making it more road race oriented. So a little bit less suspension travel, a couple other little changes there. Of course, the massive Brembo M50 up front. This is derived from KTM's 450 SXF motocrosser and then converted for life at the kart track here. I want to talk about the engine first. Now, riding a proper 5-speed motocross engine, 450 engine, they're pretty serious things. I mean, we're talking 63-ish horsepower, 35 foot-pounds of torque. And in a road race setting, a kart track setting, what I liked about it is the fact that it actually does have a decent amount of torque out of this single cylinder engine. You can carry a gear too tall. It's pretty forgiving in that sense, but it's got a lot of snap to it. Now, in terms of ride modes, we actually do have a mellow, that's what it literally says on the sticker here, and aggressive mapping, plus you have your traction control, quick shifter, and launch control. But for me, I actually prefer the mellow mapping just because that aggressive mapping is just a tad too overzealous in my opinion. When you're kind of picking it up off the apex, you start pushing a little bit. But the engine itself, kind of getting into that and focusing there, it's just a solid, versatile engine. It's got really great mid-range like you'd expect out of a single cylinder and good over-end up top, especially in a very close quarters, tight situation like a kart track. Like I mentioned before, it's a 5-speed transmission. You do have an up quick shifter with a suitor clutch, so you don't have auto blip on the downshift function. But with that pricey suitor slipper clutch, which is about a $1,000 unit if you were to purchase it on your own, you can pretty much just bang down the gearbox, back the bike in, if that's your style, and happy days. They updated the intake housing for the airbox specifically. It's now a much stiffer material, so it's not susceptible to deformation, so it really just keeps a much more consistent airflow into that intake system. The big news for this model specifically and what's different is, adopting all of that chassis stuff from the current iteration SXF motocrosser. So the chassis itself has more relief built into it, has more flex built into it. The chassis is going to be able to behave like suspension a little bit when you're on the edge of the tire. Because you think about it, you're leaned over, suspension can't really be suspension. The chassis needs to absorb some of that. So this year they've really worked on incorporating a little bit more reliefs into that, allowing a bit more flex in the chassis overall, so the frame just has more reliefs. And then the shock itself, the linkage, it uses smaller diameter bolts to allow, again, a little bit more flex. Now, it might be a couple degrees here and there, but that could be the difference between tucking the front end or not. Who knows? On the suspension front, do have an updated unit for the year. If we go back to the previous generation, still use the air fork. That didn't really translate to Supermoto use. So we've gone to a spring-actuated closed cartridge fork, and overall, the suspension you're looking at about, damn near 10 inches of travel on each end, so it's some serious stuff. can take it into the Supermoto section at whatever kart track you have, jump the ever-loving expletive out of it. But the suspension overall is quite good. You know, for a $12,000 super niche product, it better be. And it is fully adjustable, save for the front, which does not have preload. I don't know why KTM is afraid of fork preload, but whatever. You have rebound and compression here, fully adjustable shock in the rear. And for the shock specifically, they've also updated the valving, so that's all honky-dory. Now, when you're riding a Supermoto, the thing that really comes across is just the lightness. Flicking this thing around, using the road race style, using the foot out style, motocross style, it's not like riding a conventional motorcycle. And that's why these things are such good training bikes if you're a budding road racer, if you're into that sort of thing. Because on one side, it's actually cheaper to run this type of bike at a kart track because you don't burn tires up as much. It's not as expensive to go to track days, blah, 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 all the reasons. But overall, why people use these things for training? Because of just the absolute sheer amount of feedback. I mean, the feedback you get from the front end out of the rear end, the ability to just sort of suss out the front end starting to lose it, kind of when it's gonna tuck. That's why all your favorite riders are on these things, okay? That's why they're training Supermoto, that's why they're training flat track. I had a blast riding this thing around at the kart track. Really enjoyable experience, wrapping up the odds and ends about this new model, new bodywork. They've also shortened up the pegs, again, just to give you a little bit more ground clearance. That's gonna improve your riding experience, whether you do road race style or Supermoto style. One of the other things that I do wanna touch on just before we go is that big, chunky single disc up front with the M50 lever and a radial master cylinder that differs from the motocross bike. Good stopping power. I mean, again, super lightweight bike. You don't really need dual discs. But the MSRP for the 2025 KTM 450 SMR is $12,149. Look, that's nothing to sneeze at in terms of pricing, and it is a super niche product and it's not street legal. But if you have a kart track around you, you're into road racing stuff, you want to do a little bit of street and dirt, these things are pretty hard to look past, and they are absolutely sick. So, Nick with Motorcycle.com, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them down below. We'll get you some answers. But I got a little bit more riding to do, so I'm gonna get out of here. Take care.